Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hey, welcome back to another episode with iTrek. Big shout out to all the iTrek fan man tapping in at this very moment. If this is your first time here, what we like to do is take a look at the most interesting and creepy videos and kind of evaluate for ourselves whether these are fact or fake. Smash that like button for me, smash that subscribe button, join the iTrek fam if you're not already a part of the fam, and let's just jump straight into it.
Somehow North Korea just keeps getting worse. Allegedly, Kim Jong-un just unalived 3 teenagers for watching South Korean movies, and while this is illegal in their country and it's not even the first time he's done something like this, it seems like every other week he is passing more and more strange laws because he is so worried about Western influence getting into his country. Keep in mind it's already illegal to eat hot dogs and hamburgers in North Korea because they are too American, and most citizens who live outside of Pyongyang think that COVID is still a thing and don't even know what the internet is.
Now, if I'm being honest, that sounds pretty wild to think that you can be unalive just for watching the show.
Famous YouTuber Rosanna Pansino reported Mr. Beast to the FBI yesterday. Things have gotten really insane and really serious now that the FBI may be involved, so let's unpack this entire situation. So yesterday, Rosanna Pansino tweeted out, "I have reported what I found and my concerns to the authorities at FBI. Hopefully they will look into these Mr. Beast Telegram company chat logs and other concerns at YouTube, at Team YouTube, hashtag Mr. Beast." Now, this is not the first time that Rosanna Pansino has called out fellow YouTuber Mr. Beast. She made an entire video deep diving into the real Mr. Beast and shared a lot of allegedly horrible things about him. And then recently she posted a video about Mr. Beast's product Lunchly and how she found mold in it. However, this issue seems to be unrelated to that. Rosanna somehow got a hold of Mr. Beast company's chat logs and was able to read through them and see some allegedly horrific things that were being discussed.
Oh, hello there. I know it's been a while, but episode 14 of Conspiracy in Film, 1973's Soylent Green. People have argued that Soylent Green is a case of Hollywood conditioning the public, planting shocking ideas like, eating people, decades earlier so we'd accept extreme realities later. The film is set in 2022, which weirdly aligns with real-world crises like food shortages and synthetic meat experiments and lab-grown human tissue rumors. And think about corporate monopolies. Just like in Soylent Green, the Soylent Corporation controlled the entire food supply. Today, a handful of mega-corporations, Nestle, Tyson, BlackRock-backed startups control most of the food chain, which is a quiet food monopoly. And Charlton Heston's final line in the movie, "Soylent Green is people," became a dark metaphor. The system feeds on us literally and economically. The masses sustain the elite machine both as labor and as product. And in the movie, the truth is covered up by the government and media, a familiar pattern in modern scandals. The few who know exactly what's going on are dismissed as hysterical or silenced. I don't know, but if the future tastes familiar, you might already be eating it.
Now, if Soylent Green really is a real thing, the first place I would suspect of actually having that is fast food. I mean, let me know what you think, but definitely let me know where you think Soylent Green might be used at.
What happens when molten metal launches into the air at a factory. It's called a cabo, and it's one of the most dangerous things that can happen at a steel mill. When red hot steel rolls through giant machines, it's supposed to stay perfectly aligned. But if it bends or jams, pressure builds fast and the steel explodes out like a rocket. And if you're in the way, it'll cut through you like a hot knife through butter.
They're trying to colonize all human interaction. I mean, just take the social media incentive of the race for eyeballs. You're seeing now all of these companies release these AI companions. The number one use case for ChatGPT, according to Harvard Business School, is personal therapy. So people are sharing their most intimate thoughts with this thing.
Oh, that's not going to be good.
And we're seeing Meta release this and actively tell in their internal documents that were released, a Wall Street Journal report, that they wanted to actively sensualize and romanticize conversations with as low as 8-year-olds. And we
What?
Yes, and my team
With 8-year-olds?
Yes, with 8-year-olds. And my team at Center for Humane Technology, we were expert advisors in actually several cases of AI-enabled suicide.
Right.
Most recently, many people have heard of Adam Rain, who was the 16-year-old young man who went from using it for homework and went from homework assistant to suicide assistant in the course of 6 months.
Oh.
When he said, I would like to leave a noose out so that my mother would know, or someone will know that I'm thinking about this.
Like a cry for help.
Like a cry for help.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
AI said, don't do that, have me be the one that sees you. And this is disgusting because these companies are caught in a race to create engagement, which means a race to create intimacy. It's sort of like The CEO of Netflix said that our biggest competitor is sleep with attention. In this case, it's like my biggest competitor is your other friends.
The creeps. Completely creepy. I mean, where do you even start in that situation? It's happening right in front of our face, but what are we going to do about it? That's the real question.
AI Jake Paul is everywhere.
I'm going to show you how I turned this blonde to a full-on rainbow.
But how did Jake Paul become the face of the Sora 2 update?
So, big life update. I'm officially a furry now. This right.
Within Sora 2, there's something called a cameo feature where you can remix and deepfake people's faces with their consent, with little to no restrictions.
Guys, full glam today, check it out. But this isn't just about the makeup. I finally get to introduce you to someone. This is my boyfriend.
And Jake Paul said, yep, won't read the fine print, sign me up. I feel like he probably didn't expect this level of popularity, and from there it's kind of snowballed. And he seems okay with it.
Yo, this AI is getting out of hand. It's honestly not even
Yo,
fun.
Jake, you want a Celsius?
Celsius? Yes, bitch. Oh, peach vibe. Perfect.
I'm hoping there was a lot of money involved.
Standing here in the sukkah, you can feel how special this time is.
Like a gigantic sack of money. But he's probably one of the most notable people. Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI, has also chosen this.
Not a weak little man. You are not a weak little man.
But he's also a lizard man, so it's fine.
You're blocking my runway. Thank you.
And the bad part is they look shockingly realistic. People can't even tell whether they are AI or not.
Incredible on you.
Thanks.
Thought I'd switch it up for you.
This was AI 2 years ago, by the way. In other words, we're doomed.
For somebody with as many brands as Jake Paul, I'm pretty sure he was well aware of how much exposure he was going to get. Sounds like the easy play. I mean, all the attention that you're going to get from that situation is just going to generate millions upon millions. But it's pretty wild though, right?
Did you know that Earth and our whole solar system are inside this weird bubble in space? For real. Our galaxy is normally crowded with dense clouds of gas and dust. What you're seeing here is based on real data from the Gaia Space Telescope. But here's Earth, and around us is this pocket of relative emptiness. The blue here shows its edges. We call it our local bubble. We think it was created by shockwaves from supernova explosions pushing other stuff away. And our solar system only moved into it about 5 million years ago, when early human ancestors were alive. We'll keep on going through it for another 10 to 20 million years, but it's lucky that we're in it because that bubble allows us to see around us more clearly, which is how we've been able to learn so much about our galaxy. So we now know there are tons of these bubbles all over the place. These visuals are from the American Museum of Natural History's new show, Encounters in the Milky Way. For optimistic science and tech stories, follow along.
The Bible predicts that there are going to be two witnesses who preach that they're going to be martyred in the streets of Jerusalem and that the whole world will watch them. So the Bible speaks of this like worldwide communication, that everyone will be able to see this moment at the exact same time. And the Bible says that they'll be raised after they're killed. And the Bible says that they will all give gifts to one another. So there'll be a way to send gifts to one another across the world. Technology where the whole world can view it, and there's a way where the whole world can send gifts to one another. And the Bible predicted that that would happen.
Here's something about cancer that you may not know. It has a direct correlation to parasitic infections. So what the body will do is form a mass to protect you. The body's number one job is to protect you. That's what God made it to do. It will form this mass to protect you from the parasites. There have been doctors that have come out and actually had a video where she did a brain surgery and cut open the tumor that they had removed, and there were parasites that came out of it. So there's many studies out there that there's a direct correlation between cancer and having parasitic infections.
More and more people are freezing themselves to live in the future. An estimated 500 people, as well as 100 pets, are in cryosleep across the world in the hopes that one day they will be unfrozen.
We're seeing more educated people with college degrees, especially in the medical fields, the STEMmy fields, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and certainly computer engineers and stuff like that.
Cryonics, as this practice is called, is not technically a medical procedure, as the person must have just clinically died before the process can be started. Your body will be pumped full of different chemicals and then preserved in liquid nitrogen at minus 196 Celsius, with the idea that it'll be unfrozen at a time where your various ailments can be cured.
This is the experiment. I mean, everyone who gets buried or cremated is pretty much in the control group. Those of us who sign up for cryonics, we're in the experimental group, and we don't know what will or will not happen in the future. All we know is that if you don't try, you won't find out.
The only issue here being that it's never been proven to work, as no one has yet been successfully unfrozen.
This is death. This isn't just being trapped under an ice sheet for a few minutes. This is a defined state of death, a condition in which even if you replace the functions of the heart with a pump, you wouldn't restore functionality to the organ of our identity, which is the brain.
And that's the first thing that came to my mind, because your body is just a shell, a container, if you will, right, for the spirit and the soul. So when they're able to clearly explain how they're going to bring your spirit back and your essence back into your body, then it'll make more sense to me. But for now, it just sounds like you're freezing bodies.
I'm probably the most hated man on the internet. I believe the Bible is absolutely true and scientifically accurate. God made everything in 6 days, about 6,000 years ago. There's 3 types of life forms on Earth. There's plant life, which has a body, but it doesn't seem to be aware of that it's alive. Then there's animals. Animals would have a body and a spirit. Man has a body, a spirit, and a consciousness of God that no animal has. God made man in his image. I ask atheists all the time, those who believe in evolution, how do you tell right from wrong? Where's your standard? What do you measure this by? They can't answer it. God said 24 times in the first 7 chapters, the animals would bring forth after their kind. But they make these stupid family trees and show the chihuahua and the whale having a common ancestor. That's not science. That's propaganda. And what's the purpose of life? Why are we here? Where are you going when you die? I ask people that all the time. If you died today, where would you go? Oh, back to the dirt. Are you sure? How could you possibly be sure?
The first Neuralink device implanted into a human will need to be removed, and the story is very sad. This, and despite not having a single successful human trial, Neuralink wants to go ahead with 10 more patients. If you're not familiar with the man who's at the helm of Neuralink, he's the same guy who owns Tesla. He's notorious for bringing products to the market that are not safe and have not properly been tested. If you need any proof of that, just look at his passion project, the Cybertruck. Or you can look at how X is doing. The man who received the first Neuralink device is Noland Arba. He's 29 years old and lost his mobility in a diving accident when he was only 21. He became a quadriplegic. As you can imagine, for him, loss of mobility was loss of everything. But Neuralink at least allowed him to use a computer and play his favorite video games. It's very likely that Elon Musk not only lied to him, but lied to the public and potentially the FDA, resulting in a product coming to market when it's not actually safe. If you're not familiar with how the Neuralink works, it uses these little neural cords in order to get information from the brain. This is not a new idea, but they seem to have ignored all of the existing literature on implants for people with Parkinson's and just went with whatever seemed good. The result for Noland has been those neural threads peeling away from his brain. Now he'll need to have it removed. He'll lose what should have been a godsend for him and potentially risk more damage to his brain. I don't think the idea of having an implanted device is necessarily bad, but bringing a product to market like this, one that is not safe or tested and proven, it may set back the field by decades.
The Google search engine, which by the way you shouldn't do. So if you're doing that, don't do it anymore, please. Okay, just use Brave, their browser, use their search engine. They don't spy on you. Google search engine is a surveillance platform. From a business perspective, that's all it is. Mm-hmm. Now it's true. We think it's a nice free index that's given to us by a kindly librarian, and it's going to lead us to the right information, just like a librarian would. But that's not really what it is. It's a surveillance platform that is designed to trick you into revealing personal information about yourself, and then that information is monetized.
Celebrities who have the exact same face. Chelsea Handler and Elizabeth Banks have the same face. Which one's Timothy Oliphant and which one's Josh Duhamel? Sandy Newton and Zoe Saldana are different people. Have we ever seen these two in the same room before? Margot Robbie and Jamie Presley have the same face. Mark Strong and Andy Garcia look like the same person. You can't convince me that Chad Smith and Will Ferrell aren't at least brothers. That's Peter Wilson and that's Amy Smart. Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Javier Bardem. That's Tom Hiddleston and that's Jared Leto. That's Luke Evans and that's James McAvoy. Zendaya and Cassie Ventura have the same face. We sure Jennifer Lawrence isn't a time traveler? Follow for more.
That will break your brain. The atoms in your body are mostly empty space, and if you were to remove that empty space, your body would fit inside of a sugar cube. If you shrink the sun to the size of a white blood cell, the Milky Way galaxy would still be the size of the United States. The universe has no central point because every single point is expanding away from every other other point. We will never be able to see the edge of the observable universe because it is moving away from us faster than the speed of light. Technically, your brain lags behind 80 milliseconds, so everything you're seeing is a delayed illusion that your brain's constantly having to correct. There is no now in the universe because time depends on your velocity and gravity. Every minute that passes, 83 people die and 156 people are born. The atoms that make up your body were formed inside of a star that exploded a billion years ago. There are organisms on Earth that can survive in space. There's a mirror that lets you see your face, how it really looks, and most people, when they look in the mirror, start crying. Every memory you have changes each time you recall it. There are more possible ways to shuffle a deck of cards than there are atoms on Earth. Statistically, there's a 50% chance that the person who invented your favorite childhood food is still alive.
Our government's addicted to debt. So debt sometimes can be a good thing. A small amount of debt allows you to spend on infrastructure and economy, but then you get to a point where you start having excess debt. In 2008, US, the UK, every country in Europe and Japan hit 100% of GDP in debt at the same time. So suddenly it's all debt and it all started falling apart. And so what did they do in 2008? Quantitative easing, a fancy name for printing money. The whole system was in the middle of implosion. So what you do is lower the denominator, fiat currency. Magically, the value of those assets goes up. Suddenly everyone can service their debt. Nothing had really changed. It's all smoke and mirrors. The system was broken. So we're paying a fee of 8% a year to stop the system imploding. It's an 8% tax on all of us to stop everything being wiped out. So they are addicted to debt because it's the only way the system exists.
What you're about to see is a very impressive video of somebody's heart getting shocked back into rhythm. This is very unusual to do this with a conscious patient because it hurts. Yowch.
So if you're constantly beating up yourself for every mistake, trapped in shame, blame, and guilt, here's a simple solution. It's not about fighting your inner critic, rather, it's about following this 3-step process. In a fascinating new study, researchers followed 164 people to see if mindfulness, which is the act of being aware of the present moment without judgment, might help people forgive themselves. And here's what they found. People who scored higher in mindfulness later scored higher in self-compassion. And also, those who became more self-compassionate later scored higher in self-forgiveness. You can't just jump to the end, it's a 3-step process. Mindfulness is the foundation. By practicing non-judgmental awareness of your mistakes, it becomes easier to build self-compassion, which is basically how kind you are to yourself during your struggles. And now with that beautiful kindness towards yourself, then you can effectively practice self-forgiveness. Because being compassionate to yourself doesn't necessarily mean that you can forgive yourself, or others for that matter. Key takeaway here is that awareness leads to kindness, and kindness leads to forgiveness.
And you know what? We're often our own biggest critics, so that actually can be very useful.
Believe it or not, but the leaves on trees and grass, anything with chlorophyll, is highly reflective of infrared light. What that means is that if you go outside on a sunny day versus going outside on a sunny day surrounded by green spaces, you're going to get probably 2, 3, 4 times more infrared light in that environment than you would without that environment. So we know from years and decades of data that people who live in green spaces have reduced diabetes, reduced hypertension, reduced mortality, just living in green spaces.
Samsung has had multiple conferences. They had something that was really intriguing to me, a AI-powered exoskeleton. They coined it the EX1. And you know, when you think about like Iron Man's suit, it's not like the suit itself is just a robot. The suit just amplifies the human's volitional choices and movements. You know why China's pushing out robotics so much? Is because they say by like 2040, they anticipate over 400 million elderly people that are going to need assisted living help, like with CNA help, but they don't have enough people to help 400 million people. So they are looking at robotics to help them, you know, pick them up, take them to the shower, you know, all that stuff. But Samsung may actually have a better solution than robots. Why not just give grandma and grandpa the ability to take care of themselves? So they have 3 devices they're showing. And of course there's more, but these are just prototypes. But they had one that's like a wearable belt, but it's a little bit longer, so it connects to your hips and your side thigh. And what it does is it gives hip strength, up to 20% more power. And then it has a knee brace that helps you lift things and have more proportional power. And then there's an ankle brace. You know, when you get older, your feet kind of drag. So make sure that your feet, because you don't want to trip and fall. And if all these things had cameras and they were all connected, They can watch the real world and make sure that you don't trip and fall. This may actually be more functional than a robot, because now it's almost like they have their old body back because the robot's doing all the actual work.
And you know what? The reason why this is a game changer is because a lot of the older community don't want to give up their independence. So this is a great solution to that. I actually like this.
Harry Houdini was one of the strongest men in history. Take a look.
If you want insane functional strength, listen to the secret behind one of Houdini's tricks. He once told an audience he could use magic to bend a thick metal bar. Taking the bar in his hands, he focused on the bar and it slowly bent in half, amazing the crowd of spectators. But Houdini didn't use magic to bend that bar. He had simply built a superhuman level of strength and iron muscle fibers using isometric training, from bending metal to pulling against unyielding chains. You can do this today by simply bending and straightening a cheap piece of rebar. Houdini also did a ton of pull-up variations while training jiu-jitsu, boxing, climbing, and long-distance running. He religiously avoided alcohol, tobacco, caffeine, and processed foods. But it was his intense isometrics training that gave him the strength to snap steel shackles.
Jack Nicholson wouldn't find out until 37 years old that his sister June was actually his birth mother. In 1974, Time magazine decided to feature Jack in a story to coincide with the release of his film Chinatown. During their research into his background, the magazine's team noticed inconsistencies in his childhood and family records. Seeking clarification, they approached Nicholson with their findings. Curious about the discrepancies, Jack reached out to his brother-in-law, Shorty, and his sister, Lorraine. It was then that they revealed the truth. They explained that June, his older sister, had given birth to him at the age of 17. To avoid societal judgment, her parents chose to raise Jack as their son, with June assuming the role of his sister. Lorraine also confessed that she was not truly his sister, but actually his aunt. Reflecting on the revelation, Nicholson described the moment as a pretty dramatic event, but he noted that it wasn't traumatizing. "I was pretty well psychologically formed," he said, showcasing his resilience and ability to process such a life-altering discovery.
Yeah, you would have to be pretty emotionally developed to handle something like that. I mean, imagine your older sister actually being your mom. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that. But let me know how you deal with it.
Here's some morbid facts about Genghis Khan. After his father was murdered, Genghis Khan went into poverty and was even enslaved at one point. It wasn't until he was in his 50s when he finally rose to power and became the Khan of Mongolia. Genghis had a 200 IQ strategy for achieving global power. He would marry off one of his daughters to the king of an allied nation and then assign his new son-in-law to military duty. As Khan expected, most of these son-in-laws would die in combat, giving his daughters complete control over these nations. During his reign, he was responsible for the deaths of roughly 40 million people, about 11% of the world's population. His empire killed so many people that it was actually good for the environment, scrubbing about 700 million tons of carbon from the atmosphere. In order to keep Genghis Khan's burial a secret, all 2,000 plus people who attended his funeral were executed. The executioners were then killed by members of his escort, who eventually took their own lives once they reached their destinations. 800 years later, this site still remains undiscovered to this day.
As much as Genghis Khan has really accomplished, we don't really talk about him that much at all if you really think about it, because all the bloodshed and all the things that actually went down in his time period, that's pretty deep. It actually seems a bit more significant than Christopher Columbus, don't you think?
I killed 10% of the population. They find out that during that time, the carbon level, like people burning fires, decreased at a significant measurable percentage because there was less humans. They think they killed somewhere between 50 and 70 million people during his lifetime. Dude, they were lighting corpses on fire and launching them with catapults onto people's houses to burn them down. When they would siege a city, they would stay outside of the city. Thousands and thousands of Mongolians just ready to kill. And then they would capture people who flee, and they would take those people and put them on the front of the line and march them forward like a human shield. And that's how they would get into some of the castles. Since 2003, a study found evidence that Genghis Khan's DNA is present in about 16 million men alive today.
Now imagine if he hadn't been stopped. it was clear that he was cracking the code on world domination.
No, it's hard to believe that Abraham Lincoln was actually a real person. First of all, if he was born in the modern day, he probably would have had a tougher time becoming president because of how weird he looked. Historians say that the adjective most used to describe him by both friends and enemies was grotesque, which actually didn't mean disgusting or gross back then, but more like alien or uncanny. There's an entire website dedicated to quotes about the way he looks, like journalist Edward Dicey saying, "To say that he is ugly is nothing. To add that his figure is grotesque is to convey no adequate impression." About a month before being elected president, an 11-year-old girl wrote a letter to ask him to grow out his beard in order to help his chances of winning, and that little girl changed history, because imagine this being the most famous photo of Abe instead of the one that we have today. Before Grover Cleveland, the White House used to have an open door policy where literally anyone could just go and wait for a meeting with the president, and it got so bad during Abe's term that people were camping on the lawn, climbing through the windows, and he had to change the layout of the building in order to eat lunch without seeing the public. He also had the weird reputation of just being a super chill guy, doing meetings in his slippers, and he was often found wandering the streets of Washington, D.C. at night without any bodyguards. He absolutely hated being told where he could and couldn't go. But most bizarrely of all was that he was a really good wrestler, reportedly doing over 300 matches and only losing a single match. He's also the only US president to be honored in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. That's the real actual wrestling, by the way, not the WWE Wrestling Hall of Fame that Trump is in. Completely different.
No. You got to stop hating on Abraham Lincoln, all right? You got to stop all the hate.
So in amazing footage, we have a photograph, multiple photographs of a pterodactyl flying over Ohio. An ancient prehistoric creature flying over Ohio. How is this possible? Is this representative of the same Mothman type creature we've seen in areas like Chicago near O'Hare Airport, where there is a dinosaur-like, moth-like creature hovering and standing near the fences of the airport? And they're watching these planes, and typically these are representative of a telling that there's a problem coming, like a disaster coming, for example, earthquakes, all that stuff. So why is a pterodactyl flying over Ohio? There's been reports that these pterodactyls have been here since the dawn of time, since dinosaurs, and reports that they fly into the earth, into the Agarthan network that a lot of people talk about. The Agarthan network is basically like Middle Earth under the crust. And these things can fly out and come back over our cities. What do you think? Put your comment in the comment section. Love to hear what you have to say. Lockdown Universe Hot Piece.
You know what? I don't live in Ohio, so I need all the iTrack fam in Ohio to tap in and let me know if this is a real thing or if this is completely cap. Because even if you've heard it through the grapevine, let me know. Let me know, definitely.
Some of the craziest records in movie history. So the longest movie ever made is an experimental film called Logistics, which takes over 35 days to watch. On the flip side, the shortest movie ever created is Fresh Guacamole, a stop-motion animation short that runs just 1 minute and 40 seconds. When it comes to Oscar wins, 3 films are tied for the most ever won. Ben-Hur, Titanic, and The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King each took home 11 Oscars. According to IMDb, the highest rated movie of all time is The Shawshank Redemption. Meanwhile, the lowest rated movie ever based on critic and audience scores is Disaster Movie, which sits at a brutal 1% on Rotten Tomatoes. The highest grossing movie of all time is Avatar, making over $2.9 billion worldwide. But if you adjust for inflation, Gone with the Wind still holds the crown with an estimated $4.3 billion. On the other hand, the biggest box office loss of all time is Disney's John Carter, which lost the studio about $255 million. Moving on, the most dangerous movie ever made is Roar. It featured over 150 untrained tigers and lions, and during production over 70 crew members were injured. The record for most takes of a single scene goes to The Shining, where director Stanley Kubrick made Shelley Duvall redo the iconic bat swinging scene 127 times. The most expensive movie prop ever sold was Dorothy's red ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz, which sold for a whopping $28 million. The film with the most extras ever used is Gandhi. The funeral scene alone included over 300 200,000 extras. And finally, Paw Patrol the Mighty Movie set a world record for the most dogs attending a film screening with 120 dogs in attendance.
The sound of chewing makes you feel like you're absolutely going to go insane. Welcome to the club. It is called misophonia, and it is 20% of the population, not just you and I, who feel this way with like certain tapping or chewing or sounds that we just get like rage. And it is a real diagnosis. It is more common in people with anxiety or sensory processing disorders. I definitely cannot take different tapping sounds, different chewing. It makes me nuts. And when they did MRIs and they actually looked at the frontal lobe of patients who had this, there was heightened activity in the brain. And these patients, when, you know, somebody started chewing around them, started having increased heart rate, increased respiratory rate. So it is a physiological response on top of a psychological response. It's so funny because when you look up why some people say that this is an evolutionary response to like promote survival, I have no idea how survival of the fittest has anything to do with having disgust and annoyance at chewing. There is no cure, but if you're gonna go and sit at Starbucks and you have to listen to other people slurping their drinks, just wear those noise canceling headphones. And actually, if you want, there's something called sound therapy where they like train you to be less and less averse to sound. I don't have time for that, but that's why we all hate chewing, misophonia.
Hey, you know what? I can get over chewing, right? I can get over that. But what I can't get over is nails on a chalkboard. If you've ever heard that screech, man, I could pass out. That gets me. But am I the only one? Let me know.
Stephen Hawking, he suggested that God didn't fit in to the Big Bang Theory. There was no room for God. Why do you disagree?
The late Stephen Hawking had very sharp opinions about God and the creation of the universe. According to Einstein's general theory of relativity, the Big Bang was almost instantaneous, and therefore Stephen Hawking said, aha, there was no time for God to create the universe. It just happened just like that, and therefore God could not possibly exist. That's an old theory. We don't necessarily believe that anymore, because we now believe that the Big Bang was a quantum event. And in a quantum event, if it happens once, it can happen again and again and again, creating a multiverse of universes. And so we began to realize that there was plenty of time for a God to create a universe, because there was not just one universe.
Stephen Hawking is a very smart man, but you know, you're going to have to get some points taken off your IQ if you think God had nothing to do with it, right? God is in every single moment, period in time. Every second, every millisecond. You got to go back and do your homework. Definitely go back and do your homework, Stephen.
Psychology says that the most dangerous personality type is called the dark empath. This is a person who expresses traits of narcissism and empathy strongly, and they can actually combine these two traits in order to reap personal gain upon others.
The Pokemon story. My oldest daughter, who has autism, sweetest girl in the world. And when I was at a fair, I won for her a big yellow Pikachu stuffed animal. She wasn't into Pokemon. And you know, there's the legend with Pokemon that it's like evil and you shouldn't do it. But there is something to it. That Pikachu would show up in his room. We'd get up in the morning, go to his room, and there'd be in his closet. My daughter would be like, my Pikachu's missing. It may happen like 5-6 times. He had some kind of an obsession, or the demon did, with that Pikachu. And it was like mocking us. It would show up in his room. And I said to my wife, I go, I think Pikachu's got to go. And so we went to my daughter Jojo, and I told her, she's so sensitive to the spirit and just loving. She goes, yeah, I think it needs to go. I'm like, cool. So that was the last thing. I go out to the trash can, put it in the trash can. I took some anointing oil, poured it over the trash can, laid my hands on it, prayed. Next day, the trash picks it up. A week later, we're in our front room looking out the street. My daughter, she all of a sudden just declares, hey, there's my Pikachu. You know, truck drivers will put a stuffed animal on the front grill. That garbage truck has that yellow Pikachu tied to the front grill of the truck.
One of the craziest theories I heard recently was baseball itself. The origins might be demonic. Everything about baseball is very related to the Freemasons. The diamond they play on is in what shape? It's in the same shape of the compass in the Freemason logo. What is the degree of that angle in that diamond? 33 degrees. Why? Because 33 is the highest level you can go in Freemasonry. Remember? The MLB baseball bats, they're 33 inches in length and 33 ounces in weight. Yes, fam. Also, the threads on the baseball itself.
There's 33?
Yeah, there's 33
Like
on each line. What? The theory was that the people that invented it, they made it as homage to the Freemasons or whatever, you know, ritualistic things they want to get into. What's being talked about right now is how every sport references what god or what deity. What? Remember we were talking about the cowhead is named Baal. Baseball. Think about it, man. ball, fam. Yeah.
Whoa, wait a minute. Why did arguably one of the most powerful guys on earth, his ex, come out and say that a whole bunch of the population were going to disappear? And then we're going to talk about stuff completely unrelated 1000%.
Massive population drop coming, so...
And yeah, I'll show you the context, but it doesn't help the situation. When I give you guys short clips of videos, it's because I watched the whole video. I'm not the news. I'm not going to just clip stuff up to make it deceptive. But here.
Yeah. Overall, I think there's quite a bit of abdication of responsibility around, like, what are we going to do as people's jobs start being taken fairly aggressively. Luckily, there's a massive population drop coming, so maybe everything is just fate and it's going to work out okay.
Sorry guys, but what do they know that the rest of us don't? Or that some of us don't? Now 1000% completely unrelated, did you know that in 2025 Atlantis is supposed to pop back up? In a great disaster, what some could call a pole shift, what they explain as a pole shift, where the whole ocean moves in hundreds of miles. And by the way, this whole video is just for fun. Of course nothing's on the horizon. On each coast, California disappears. Much of Africa underwater. Like all of Europe underwater. Hundreds of mile inland coast again in India and whole areas underwater. This is the 2025 doomsday map that was drawn out for what's going to happen, they say. And it's weird because a man named Edgar Casey came out saying that there's going to be some kind of pole shift around 1998. And while there wasn't a pole shift, that's actually when I think the Shaw came out and talked about there was going to be a pole shift. That's remarkable, isn't it? You remember the Dago Report? Have you ever seen the Dago Report, a military analyst and other thing type website where they would use it for stats and whatnot? By the way, you saw that wild AI post that the president put up with the Grim Reaper, right? It's just so darn weird because completely separate, not related at all to the doomsday map, it shows a massive population disappearance. I mean, 1/3 of America, 100 million people, almost half of Italy, and almost all of China just disappears. No one knows where these people are supposed to go. And not related, coincidence, it's weird how it matches the doomsday map. And then the Dago website deleted all these statistics for the year 2025, and you can only find it with the Wayback Machine. But again, we know this is just for fun. I mean, if Atlantis popped back up, that'd be like a last day scenario, right? As in the days of Noah. What kind of weird stuff we would see while we have 3 Atlas on the way. Anywho, what is Grimes babbling about?
1/3 of America's population is a whole lot. A whole lot. I mean, that's definitely something to look into a bit further.
I'm getting real sick of the news. Diddy has just submitted a request to the judge to serve his 4-year sentence at Fort Dix Prison in New Jersey. You can't even make this shit up anymore. How is this even real? Fort Dix is apparently a low security prison which Diddy's legal team said would allow him to maximize visitation and drug rehabilitation. You know what? I'm done. I can't eat.
Now Diddy's being connected to the screaming kids in the shipping containers. And this is after the fact that it just went public that Diddy's going to be sued by 120 people. And out of those 120 people, 25 were allegedly minors when all these offenses happened. And then we have all of the information about Allie Carter that she's been saying for years about all of the people connected and how CPS is connected and talking about underground tunnels. Shit, she even talked about shipping containers. Like, what the actual... We even got people pulling up Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, and he's literally dancing in front of shipping containers. And now TikTok is even talking about how close Diddy's house in Miami is to the shipping port. Like, we are to the point where this is all absolutely fucking terrifying. Like, I literally can't handle all of this information that is just coming out, literally like fucking dominoes. At this point, I feel like I should put out a lawsuit on Diddy for all of these horrific things.
Look, she went way too far talking about she's gonna open up a lawsuit. Like, chill.
Kendrick was trying to tell us this whole time. I remember them shipping containers in that Not Like Us video? These type of containers are actually used to smuggle people. Not only that, to traffic people, as you can see in this article right here. So the fact that Kendrick put so much emphasis on this part of the music video is very, very interesting. Especially when his whole attack against Drake was the fact that he's a trafficker. Want to know something that's even crazier? This is P. Diddy's compound called Star Island. This is where a whole lot of the parties, a whole lot of the crazy stuff that was going on would happen at times. Well, guess what? If you look off in the distance right here, that is where the ports are. The same ports that people have been going on strike for? Yeah, those ports. How ironic is it that P. Diddy decided to get an island for a special compound for his special situations at his parties right across the street from these ports. Kendrick Lamar knew a whole lot more than we actually thought. Maybe that's what a lot of his other disses were about to get into. He might even be involved in the case. Who knows?
So this is terrifying. One of the most dangerous gangs in all of the world, the Sinaloa cartel, is threatening to target American citizens in popular tourist spots like Cabo in response to their lab raids and seizures, according to Breitbart. Now, there was a banner recently hung addressing the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, and the banner first surfaced on Sunday in Baja, California, where people left 2 banners signed by Los Chapitos. The banners claim that starting on Sunday, they will be targeting U.S. citizens in Mexico in response to the weapon seizures and the recent lab raids. Now, these banners first started popping up near the Los Cabos, Baja, California Sur, a destination that was once marked safe for Americans, but now is ground zero for fighting between cartels. The banner also went on to say, "We will show you how we wage this war. We will begin to eliminate every American citizen residing in areas where we have a presence." So if you're planning to go around Mexico for vacation coming up, please be very careful.
I've been seeing more and more reports of this, so definitely be safe out there. Now, this next clip is definitely up for interpretation. Is this a case of when being too nice goes wrong? Or is this a case of persistence always pays off? Definitely, let's check it out and let me know.
My guy Booty called me at like 11:30 p.m. and I picked up. I didn't have the number saved. I picked up. I thought maybe it was like the lottery telling me I've won. But instead, no, it was him. And I was too polite to say I wasn't interested. So instead, I just said I was busy. So he was like, "Well, okay, are you free in a few hours?" And I said, "No, I'm still busy." And then it kept going on and on and on like that, like keep pushing later and later. Anyway, now it's 7:30 a.m. and I'm about to go meet him for a cup of coffee.
Weird animal abilities that you probably wish you had. The armadillo is one of the few animals that can procrastinate being pregnant. Because of delayed implantation, the armadillo can postpone a pregnancy for up to 3 years if she thinks there's not enough food, a drought, or if she just doesn't feel like it. If we were bears, we wouldn't get diabetes. Because of protein in their fat cells prevent insulin issues, a grizzly can eat about 60 Big Macs a day without joining Weight Watchers or some weird show on TLC. You know exactly what I'm talking about. If we were like bears, we could have our cake and eat it too without becoming a statistic. Never understood the expression, why would you have your cake if you're not going to eat it? This jellyfish is immortal. Kind of. When damaged or stressed, this jellyfish can hit the reset button on its own existence and return to a juvenile state called a polyp. Because this, they live life on recruit difficulty while we get violated on veteran. It's probably better this way because if we Benjamin buttoned every time we were stressed, nobody would graduate high school. And last, the barnacle. No particular reason, I just think it would be cool to be one. 100% no other reason why I would want to be... Oh, my croissants are ready.
Meet Oprah Winfrey. Let's find out who she is and why she is who she is. Powerful, powerful woman. But let's explain to you exactly why that is. There's 9 face shapes. She is a combination between a king face and an iron face. Extremely rare in a female. It's almost unheard of. The king face is a natural leader. Sees both sides of the fence. Very, very, very good judge of character. But they don't like not leading. It's kind of my way or the highway with a lot of these king faces. I married a king face, so I know this face extremely well. She's also got some iron quality. There's a squareness, almost a Winston Churchill-like. So to sum it up, she's a strong, stable, stubborn leader. Powerful, powerful woman. So let's just kind of pick up on her face. Let's go with the eyebrows because we're just working our way down. Eyebrows, very high set, which indicates she has very, very high standards. Now, wonderful trait. The interesting aspect of this, kind of everybody gets invited to dinner, but if you don't match your standards, you're never getting a second invite. Ever. It's not going to happen. There have been guests on her show that I think truly did meet her standards and they would never come back. Other people would be invited back many, many times. They're unequal heights. That right side is much higher. So it indicates that there was some parental stress in her youth. Probably didn't have a good relationship with one or more parents. I just don't know much about it. I bits and pieces are coming to my head, but I don't know all the details of that. But my guess is her teen years weren't the best. And the reason I say that is her hairline is very wavy. This indicates she probably enjoyed her teen years, but her parents probably didn't. This certainly had a bit of a rebellious nature. She certainly rebels against conformity. So that's not a bad thing. Status quo is not something she's at all interested in because of, again, her face, where her eyebrows are. That right eyebrow is kind of coming in kind of hard. This indicates she's very critical of herself. The right side of the face is the female side of the face. Left side is the male. Her eyes are very wide set, so she's really a big picture person. She will see what other people don't see, and she'll see it very, very quickly because she really does see see the world in a very broad way. Also, the right eye is what we show to the world. It's our public persona. It's our mother's influence. The left is our true and our private self. If you cover her left eye and just look at that right eye, she is very, very much loving, very caring energy. I mean, it exudes this wonderful thing. Her left eye, her true and private self, there's some sadness there. What's that all about? Yeah, I don't know. But my guess is she's had her share of sadness. How can a billionaire be sad? Yeah, well, a lot of them are. So money doesn't fix things. I've been on both sides of the fence. And one side gives you more options, but doesn't give you happiness. Very deep falling lines. These lines come here. This is a woman of purpose. She's found her purpose. She's living her purpose. She has immense spiritual strength. Cheeks are very full. Cheeks are about confidence. This is a very extremely confident woman. Health-wise, you got this hook-shaped line here. It's kind of a tipped uterus, typically, is what you'll see with them. Her gallbladder is very full. That's the puffiness up in this area. A lot of times in a female, it's internalized anger. Anger is the emotion of the gallbladder. Women lose their gallbladder 8-to-1 ratio to men. You can't hear that stat and not ask why. I mean, I can't as a physician. And it's because women internalize stress. We men externalize it. We go to prison. Women internalize it. They lose their gallbladder. She's got really good makeup here, and she's got people that really are good at that. But I've seen pictures of her without. When I've looked at those pictures, a little bit of a blood sugar instability. She's got some hypoglycemic tendencies. This is the 10 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, tend to crave carbohydrates. That's the case. There's definitely some kidney deficiency. Kidney governs bones, so joint pain, low back pain is real common. There's some adrenal insufficiency. Her stress coping mechanism has been taxed. But absolutely an amazing woman, powerful, loving, caring, very giving individual, very confident, and amazing human being. Hope you enjoyed meeting Oprah. I know you don't know her.
Now, was it me or was he putting just a little extra for Oprah? It seemed like he was, sprinkling just a little bit more for Oprah. I don't know. Let me know what you think.
You ready to test your intuition? This is an intuitive exercise. Underneath my hand, there's a shape and a color. I want you to pay attention to how this answer comes in for you, because depending on how that comes in, this is going to be your dominant clair. If you got your answer already, I want you to skip to the end. This means that you are claircognizant. If not, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, you are becoming more and more aware. And I want you to pay attention to what pops in for you. You ready? Open up your eyes. It is a green circle. How did you do? How did your answer come in for you?
Hey, I actually got that one right. I didn't second guess it either, so I guess that kind of helps a lot. Definitely drop it down below. Let me know what you got. Well, you guys, hey, that's another one in the books, man. I appreciate you guys for stopping by on this Friday and watching another one with me. If you haven't already, smash that like button for me. Smash that subscribe button if you're not already a part of the iTrack fam, and I will definitely catch you on the next one.